Hello, everyone. Okay, thank you for the introduction, Tom. Okay, so yeah, we'll be discussing about the energy sector within the DePIN. We have some interesting guests with us. Uh, okay, yeah. So we were just chatting right about the tokenomics of each project and how your token how your project is different from the other ones. So yeah, you can start. With,
Okay, so my name's David Duckworth. I run a company called Rowan Energy. Um, so we use tokenomics as part of a fundamental part of our infrastructure, but our end users are completely transparent to anything blockchain. So because we're installing devices into people's homes who have either have just bought solar or are buying solar or have had it before, the demographic of our customers are over 80% of them are over 60. Over 50, sorry, and 40% of those guys are over 60. We do survey them often. I think 2 years ago, the first survey, 96% of them said they don't want crypto, or what's that, or are you talking about that criminal internet money I've read in the newspaper? And then last year we surveyed them again, and it was 86%. So the attitudes are changing. But we make the whole, I think when you're going for mass adoption within a traditional market for people outside of the Web3 space or non-coiners, muggles, or however you want to call them. So you have to make the technology transparent to them. I mean, I'll be honest with you, these guys can't even reset their password on their dashboard, right? So they're going to have trouble understanding how receiving a crypto, converting it into a token, and then cashing it out at some point. They're going to really struggle. I mean, don't get me wrong, the world will get there. Like, tokenization is becoming more, and especially the tokenization of real world assets is becoming a more day-to-day thing which they're going to be reading and listening about. But the demographic of people who are middle-class homeowners, this is particularly for our market in the UK, are not ready for that yet. And so we need to make that technology transparent to them and make it easy for them to work. But the tokenomics part of is a fundamental part of our infrastructure still. We do run a low carbon, low energy blockchain. But I think for the end user, the energy people, it has to be really transparent and easy for them to use.
Yeah, Tom actually gave a very insightful talk on tokens within the DePIN and how they're not just a meme, right? So yeah, Greg, we were discussing the same thing. You want to add to that? The tokenomics of your project? Greg.
Sorry, can you repeat?
The tokenomics of your project, how different is it from any other DePIN project?
Mm-hmm. So my name is Greg. I'm a co-founder of C4E, the blockchain for energy-specific and e-mobility use cases. And actually, tokenomics is very important part of community-driven approach. And even today, I had a discussion with one of the guy, and he asked what is our value proposition. Why this approach is better than approach which you can find on any other, let's say, Web2 company. And so, first of all, token gives you ability to build DAO, which is a very important part of the project, and where community has ability to vote. On the other hand, it allows 10 or 15 years ago, everyone was using social media to bootstrap their products. Right now, we can use token incentive model to bootstrap the DePIN network, and this is a very important factor of the building the product, because you could have amazing product, but if you don't have users and nobody is using, and you don't have saturation, it's pointless to focus on that.
Cool. Okay, so Jason, yeah, we were discussing about the unique challenges of energy sector projects. Like you were discussing about the installation, going specific areas, and how you discovered that it was a big issue, but you have to get into that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, happy to. Energy DePINs, I think, pose unique challenges compared to previous versions. So we start with Helium, kind of the earliest version, IoT network. It was pretty plug and play. You buy a box, you plug it in, you start mining tokens. Very DIY friendly. And as a result of that, you started to see tons of people in the community start to operate fleets and find real estate locations and start to deploy fleets. That model doesn't exactly work in energy because to be a deployer in energy, you need to be a master electrician. You need to be licensed with the local and state authorities in the U.S. at least, and certainly in other parts of the globe. You need to be able to procure and finance this equipment. It's much more capital intensive than a wireless radio. And so the complexity around energy, if you're attempting to scale a DePIN focused on decentralizing energy grids, is how do you manage the installation process to make this simple, make it efficient, and make it affordable for people to start participating in a network and save money on their energy bills, and also earn from participating in part of a broader energy network that supports the grid. And so one of our earliest learnings when we launched Daylight, initially with just a focus on the protocol, was that if the protocol is going to be successful, we need to find ways to engage and manage the installation process for this equipment. And so as part of that and part of our ecosystem, we've launched the Daylight Installation Network, which is a standardized CRM, engineering, design, and financing software platform for local vetted installers in our network to come and utilize to cut the cost of installation, plug directly into our network and user base to help them access these upgrades, and do it in a way that is very, very affordable. So I think that is like the biggest complexity, is that when you're building any DePIN, you should look at the market from first principles and start to understand how are we going to get this hardware into the world. And then you need to go about building products and services to solve that problem.
Cool, yeah. When it comes to sustainability within the DePIN and energy sector, how does your project, contribute to that? How do you make sure that you are contributing the sustainability and we move to zero emission?
The stated goal of the protocol is to decentralize energy grids to support the next generation of power demand growth and ensure grids remain reliable and scaling to meet that power demand. And so the protocol explicitly incentivizes local generation, storage, and energy management at the edges of the grid. So solar and storage, electric vehicles, electric hot water heaters, electric HVACs and heat pumps. All those devices are internet connected today. They're easy to integrate with purely through software APIs. So in Daylight, all of our integrations are directly done through software, not hardware, directly to these devices. And users start earning for contributing flexibility from those devices back to the platform. And so every device that we are incentivizing is an electric, low carbon, efficient device that exists in a home or a building and is replacing an inefficient fossil fuel fired version of that. So on the heating and cooling side, that might be natural gas heating or propane heating. It might be power that you're procuring from a utility, from a centralized grid that's produced by coal. It's now being produced by solar on your roof. So every device that we incentivize is a sustainable device, even though the explicit goal is around decentralization and energy reliability. The best way to build out a network of decentralized, reliable assets are efficient electric technologies.
Cool, great. Leon, you want to add to that how Arcrene's models are sustainable and what you guys are doing?
Okay, everyone. Yeah, my name is Leo, the founder of
Mike is.
Yeah, my name is Leo, the founder of Arcrene. Arcrene is using the DePIN model to connect the global the renewable energy resources. We're starting from the rooftop solar panel, and the first, we try to monetize those renewable energy resources. And the first, the demand side use case, we try to monetize the energy data coming from the solar panel to the environment asset. But it's a purely, the on-chain, the economy. We issue the REC, the renewable energy certificate, on the blockchain, and also, to do the on-chain offsite, to do the voluntary carbon neutrality by the community. The contribution the Arcrene, to do for those sustainability, the also impact is we are targeting the long tail, the residential, the solar panel. So those assets, the energy assets are small. So the most of the traditional, the environment asset, the developer don't have no interest in on those small size. They more focus on the larger side, the commercial, solar project. So the DePIN is, the suitable model for those scenario to, try to reduce the CapEx, OpEx, and adding the, the IoT, the solution, and the real time, the measuring the energy generation data to the blockchain. So that is the first, the value the Arcrene can bring and can help to monitoring those long tail, the renewable energy, the certificate, the asset for those rooftop solar panel. The second, the value we try to bring is we also create a very unique, the on-chain application called the Green BTC Club. It's a community-driven, the on-chain application, and using the community to offset the historical the carbon emission of the Bitcoin network in the past 15 years. And every the individual, the climate actor from the Web3 community can buy, can consume the tokenized rack generated by the altcoin from those rooftop solar panel and to green the Bitcoin block. So we actually the driving those supply side to the demand side to on-chain issue the REC based on the solar panels energy generation data and to the on-chain offside by the Green BTC Club. So to create this Web3 the carbon neutrality the standard and also generate a very unique the Web3 the retail buyer market to buy those small side the tokenized the environment asset and to also motivate the individual to take the climate action.
Yeah. David, you want to add to that?
So I think the focus always seems to be on carbon offsetting, and Rowan Energy does this too. And I think everything that you said is absolutely spot on, right? So, but it's all about the quality of the data that goes into your chain. You need to make sure that, especially within the carbon market and auditing within that carbon market, needs to make sure that you have complete assurance and quality and transparency, and you can drill into them all the way back to the source. You need to make sure that all the readings are mid-certified so that they can be of a billing standard. But that's not the bigger picture, right? So the bigger picture isn't so much in regards to carbon offsetting, which has an effect on climate, but also you need to think about social impact. And so what and I think it's probably all of us here are trying to achieve is, carbon offsetting is part of this ESG kind of blanket where, we're trying to make a disruption to a certain traditional dinosaur of a market, but also add other aspects to this of which ricochet off it. So by people getting solar, they reduce their energy bills, and they're helping people in energy poverty. With our tokenization and with our platforms, we're encouraging the adoption of rooftop solar, which then helps lower countries' net zero targets. But within that, like we're doing a social housing project at the moment where every house gets a free internet connection, and this now allows people to have reduce connectivity poverty, which is a real thing, right? It's becoming a human right to have connectivity. And so by introducing a product which increases the returns for solar, encourages the adoption of rooftop solar, it gets people connected to the internet, which improves education, which can help with your health records. And you can, national health services, etc. And you can actually quantify to legislation or decision makers that actually our product, you can quantify it, because energy is really easy to quantify, right? You can quantify it to how it's reaching that country's net zero targets. And then suddenly this becomes a national interest for people, where I think I also I feel your pain, Jason, in regards to how you have these things installed, because especially in the UK, and I know it's the same in the US, if you want to participate in the energy market, they need to be installed by qualified engineers. You need to prove that it's installed in a certain place. You have to, our engineers have a platform that go on, it takes a GPS snapshot, there are photographs taken to prove the asset is actually where it is. And it's not, they could be running a diesel powered generator behind your kit, right? And nobody would know unless you have this assurance of the quality of data. And I think it's important that that assurance of quality is the beginning of all this good that could happen. But if you just fill your blockchain full of rubbish, you just end up with a blockchain full of rubbish. Rubbish you can't bloody delete either, right? It's always there, right? And so it's right at the beginning. You have to go back to the fundamentals about what you're trying to achieve. And the problems with the carbon market is double counting. It's guesswork. There's an air gap in the data, so that's people just that's 50 tons of carbon, and then they add a zero, and then they mint certificates off that guesswork. Whereas if, by adding blockchain, the traceability and the immutability, and then the assurance of the quality of your data is paramount. And once you've got that, you've actually got a premium carbon offset certificate that's worth far more than these others on the market, because you're building in trust.
Yeah. So Greg and David, you both projects are based in Europe. We earlier had a very insightful discussion on regulation side of the things. So there's GDPR and other data privacy acts. So how do you make sure that you store the data in a way that's compliant with the regulations? And yeah, you want to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. GDPR is a big issue from the perspective of data, and definitely we as a global network, we had to cope with that, and we didn't take the approach that we are storing directly data on chain. We rather doing on chain and adding proofs on chain because this is compliant with GDPR. On the other hand, maybe I can talk because we are talking about regulation and so on, and very often people are asking me about decentralization of energy network, how it is supported by countries and especially EU, and actually this subject is well supported, and so we can share here, like for instance, RED 2. It's renewable energy directives which even enforce belonging countries to distribute energy sources and have a decentralized environment, and so we are well positioned, and the blockchain approach is well suited to such approach, and even maybe because you are discussing about energy certificates and so on, this is something what is not it didn't enter to the white market, but in my opinion, this is just a matter of time because they are more efficient, cheaper, more accurate, and definitely customers will have customers at the end of the day for such products.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so DePIN in general, it disrupts the legacy industries. So the people in power, they don't like the horizontal-based incentive structures. They are used to the vertical, top to bottom structures. So Jason, can you add to that how your project or how you plan to disrupt industry, or you want to complement the existing infrastructure?
I think energy uniquely is both a disruption, but it's also a complement and a necessity for where power grids are heading over the next 10 to 20 years. Moving to local generation storage behind the meter energy devices, right? Decentralized energy resources sitting in our homes and our buildings, it cannibalizes the utility business model of selling retail electric supply to customers. But as markets continue to liberalize and deregulate, utilities are becoming much more like pipeline companies. They're effectively just operators of the wires. And you have other companies that are doing other parts of the stack. They're selling electricity, they're selling retail energy supply. And so as the market deregulates, it's interesting because these small behind the meter energy resources are actually opening up new capacity on energy grids. If coordinated intelligently together, they're providing resiliency and grid support in order for grids to be balanced and power reliability to increase. And so at the same time, while they're cannibalizing kind of a traditional utility market role, they're also supporting the utility's role over the next 10 to 20 years of becoming really a distribution system operator, managing the wires and ensuring that the grid remains reliable. So I think it's uniquely kind of both. It's a new business model for energy and one that disrupts the old legacy status quo, while also being a very complementary part of where the old guard of the energy industry are moving to for the next 20 years.
Yeah, David, you
Maybe.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so solar's doing that already, right? So solar's already decentralizing energy for people, and I think connectivity to houses is a necessity. But I think if you were talking about peer-to-peer energy trading, right? So where rather than market conditions, so traditional batteries now in homes, when market conditions are right, they discharge onto the grid for an extra few pence a kilowatt. But if that market trigger was that your neighbour turned their kettle on, which is when your battery discharges to the grid and those peer-to-peer tradings happen. I don't know. When I first announced that this is what I was going to try and do, I think it was like 2019 or something, I had some really rich, powerful men from big utility companies telling me, you can't do that, this is illegal, you're not going to be able to do that. But their attitudes, I think you're rightly so, are changing, and they're realizing actually that this kind of like more granular energy grid is what's required to deliver energy to people's home that is within their community, it's within their locality. And rather than these big energy grids thinking about, oh, this is going to take away our business, they're more focused on thinking about, hey, maybe we can do localized battery storage, move the energy at night when it's cheap to move about, and then deliver it locally during the day. And they're going to need blockchain, I think, to be able to deliver that also. And so I think you're absolutely right. What we're building complements them, but we're not against them. This is the evolution of an industry that is, it's run by special shaking hand club and shareholders' Christmas parties. And actually what they're realizing is, even by introducing solar, you're decentralizing energy. And actually some of them are still dead against it, but others are now, I'm sure they've got departments considering how they're going to work with us, I'm sure.
Maybe let me add something, because you asked about being disruptive, and actually from the perspective of common people who are using energy, for them the most important is one thing, maybe two things. One is how much I have to pay for my bill. It's number one. That's the second one, being secure from the energy perspective. And this is actually what distributed, decentralized and renewable energy can provide, especially supported by energy storage, being off-grid energy community, the solution which we are providing, that you can trade energy directly in peer-to-peer mode, and it is extremely cost-effective, and they can provide own tariffs, even dynamic tariffs, where people can have access to cheap energy. And on the other hand, the whole distribution network is outdated in Europe, is a nightmare, and so somehow from big players and governments, that concept have to be supported, because they cannot do everything themselves. So definitely I wouldn't say it's revolution being disruptive, it's rather revolution and showing people that it is very important, and such approach is beneficial for many actors.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I can add some, our research, because we are seeing the markets, has a trend. The energy supply side is more and more the distributed renewable energy resources, the solar, the storage, battery, and in the demand side, the more and more, the digital application, especially coming from the AI. So I think that in the future, in your home, right, today air conditioning is the most of power consumption equipment, but in the future, maybe your AI server will consume the most of the electricity. And that's the one, the market trend. And secondly, is we think if we try to build the global level, the peer-to-peer, the energy trading market, we need to try to decouple the grid, because just as Jason mentioned, every country, every region has their regulation, right? The utility company, the grid put some requirement to access the grid, and they had their price list, right? You cannot negotiate the price. So we are thinking maybe there is the possibility. Today we are using the grid to transmit the electricity, right, from the supply side to the energy demand side. But maybe in the future we can do the reversely, right? That we can transmit the energy, the demand side to the energy supply side by the internet. For example, I'm living in Singapore. I have the task, right, to using the world to generate the picture. This AI task, we can transmit the data, the model to the one, the supply side in Australia. They have the solar panel, they have the battery, they have the the GPU, right? So this the facility can calculate, right, the using the AI and consume the green energy and calculate the result and send the result back to the to my side by the internet. So by this way, we consume the energy. We consume the energy from the solar panel, from the battery, and we are not involving the the grid. So that could be the possible way to achieve the global, the scale and creating this, the peer-to-peer the energy trading market.
Yeah, great point. This because we live in the AI age now. With more generative AI, we'll need more data centers. The need for, more dependent on energy and fossil fuels. So, like, deep in energy sector contributes to, resolve that. You want to add to that how deep in energy sector would come into play with the AI generation?
Okay, so I just want to make something clear first, right? So 70% of power purchase agreements in the UK, these are, I want to open a big solar farm or a big wind farm, and I want to sell my energy to someone, I need to raise 500 million quid. Google gives you a promise they're going to buy your energy for 10 years, you go to a lender and they lend you the money. So that means that 70% of the power generated by renewable energy in the UK is owned by Google, by Amazon, by Microsoft. And if that grows, I think it's really clear that households that aren't part of a decentralized energy grid will be buying their energy from Amazon, Google, or Microsoft in the future, because they will be doing power purchase agreements for energy at 8 pence a kilowatt from these guys because they paid for it up front for the next 10 years. And so, like Amazon Prime customers will just go, we're now offering energy, and you can pay us 50 quid a month, and we'll lock you in for 5 years because they know they've got the power generation. Now, what you have there are effectively data companies or energy technology companies that are entering the energy space. And that gives us an opportunity now to be able to integrate with these companies a lot easier than what we're doing now. These guys are the ones that are hosting these data centers with large AI capacity, right? Which is why they've been out there for years, sucking up these power purchase agreements to get cheap energy. But I think there's, so one of the issues we got with peer-to-peer trading, especially in the UK, and I know it's the same in the EU, is that moving energy around the grid is really expensive, right? So it costs you 23 pence a kilowatt to buy energy from the grid, but it costs you 20 pence to move it. And so if I'm selling my energy to my neighbour, even if it's 3 steps down the path, I'm paying 20 pence to the grid before she can even have it. And that is a real problem, and legislation needs to change, right? So why should I be paying 20 pence a kilowatt to send it over there when it's the same to send it to the other side of the country? And that's because there's no granularity in the system. But by adding this granularity level that we're able to put into here, where we track the energy in real time, which they don't do at the moment either, coming on and off the grid in real time, we're able to effectively understand that actually I should only be paying from point A to point B, and what's the calculation of that, right? I think AI is a massive concern energy-wise for, especially in the aisles of energy poverty, right? So if these big tech companies are buying their energy for pennies on the pound, somebody needs to pay somewhere, and it should probably the consumers that will end up paying. And energy prices are only going to go one way for these guys. And so by introducing what we're doing now, I think effectively gives them at least a sporting chance or a fighting chance to deflect those energy cost rises, I think.
Yeah, we look forward to more green energy-based industries in future. Okay, so I think that's our time. Thank you so much for joining us on the DePIN Day. Over to you, Tom.
Great. Thank you. Give a round of applause for the panel, please.